2. The first sign of trouble was the sky turning a color it shouldn't be. Not the gentle orange of dawn or the deep velvet of night, but a sickening, bruised purple that pulsed with an unnatural light. We were a small colony, just a few hundred souls on Kepler 186f, pioneers at the edge of known space. We'd spent years terraforming this world, coaxing life from its red soil, building our homes under the light of a distant, dim star. We thought we were alone. We were wrong. They came without warning. Spaceships, vast and insect-like, blotted out our sun. They didn't communicate, didn't offer terms. They just descended, their intent as clear as the sterile, cold weapons they brandished. We called them the chitin. Armored monstrosities, twice the height of a man, with multiple limbs ending in blades that hummed with energy. Our security teams, armed with little more than repurposed mining lasers, were a speed bump, not a wall. I was in the main biodome when the first breach occurred. The scream of tearing durasteel was followed by screams of a different kind. Panic erupted. We were farmers, scientists, engineers, not soldiers. I grabbed my daughter, Lily, and ran, joining the terrified stampede towards the central command hub, the most fortified structure in the colony. The air filled with the acrid smell of ozone and something else, something alien and foul. We sealed the blast doors, but we could hear them outside. The relentless, rhythmic pounding of the chitin trying to get in. We huddled together in the dim emergency lighting, the sounds from outside a constant, terrifying drumbeat counting down our final moments. Lily trembled in my arms, her small face buried in my chest. "Daddy, are the monsters going to get us?" she whispered. I held her tighter, my own heart hammering against my ribs. "I won't let them," I lied. I had no idea how I could possibly keep that promise. Days turned into an eternity. Our food and water dwindled. The power flickered, threatening to plunge us into total darkness. The pounding on the doors never stopped. There was a physical weight, pressing down on all of us. We listened to the comms, hoping for a miracle, but all we heard was static and the distant, chilling sounds of our colony being torn apart. We were cut off, alone, and facing extinction. On the third day, the pounding stopped. An eerie silence fell over the command hub. It wasn't a relief. It was worse. We held our breath, straining to hear anything. Then a new sound. A high-pitched whine, followed by a metallic screech as something began to cut through the main blast door. They were getting in. This was it. I gathered what little we had left for weapons wrenches, pipes, a couple of emergency plasma cutters. It was a pathetic, futile gesture. We stood together, a silent, terrified line of defiance. We would not die cowering. I kissed Lily's forehead, whispering. I positioned myself in front of her, a flimsy shield of flesh and bone. The glowing circle being cut in the door was almost complete. We braced for death. And then, something impossible happened. Just as the cut section of the door was about to fall inward, the entire command hub was rocked by a massive explosion from outside. Not the sound of the chitin, but something deeper, more concussive. The cutting stopped. Through the viewport, the purple sky was streaked with fire. Dozens of them, like shooting stars in reverse, were plummeting through the atmosphere. They weren't ships. They were smaller, mountain-sized drop pods. A voice, clear and human, crackled through the comms, cutting through the static like a thunderclap. All colony survivors, this is Sergeant Eve Rostova of the 7th Orbital Drop Shock Troopers. We are here. Hold on. My knees almost buckled. Hope, so fierce it was painful, surged through me. We weren't alone. Earth hadn't forgotten us. Outside, the world had become a maelstrom of sound and light. We heard the guttural shrieks of the chitin mixed with the disciplined, thunderous reports of heavy pulse rifles. Explosions shook the ground. The soldiers who had fallen from the sky were engaging the enemy. They were fighting for us. Another hour passed, an hour filled with the symphony of a battle we could only imagine. Then, the comms crackled again. "Kaloy in command. This is Sergeant Riskova. We've cleared the immediate area. We're cutting our way in. Stand back from the door." This time, the sound of the plasma torch was the sweetest music I had ever heard. A new section of the door glowed, then was pushed open. Silhouetted against the smoky, chaotic twilight stood a figure in slate-gray powered armor, rifle held at the ready. More figures followed, securing the entrance, their movements economical and deadly. They looked like giants, like gods of war from ancient myth. Sergeant Rostova stepped inside, her helmet retracting to reveal a face young, but etched with a hardness that spoke of 100 battles. Her eyes swept over us, taking in our ragged, tear-streaked faces. "Is this everyone?" she asked, her voice calm and steady. I could only nod, my throat too tight to speak. "All right," she said, her gaze softening for a fraction of a second as she saw the children. "The fight's not over, but the cavalry has arrived. We're getting you out of here." We followed them out of our steel tomb and into the war zone our home had become. The sky was filled with the dogfighting of human and alien craft, too. The ground was littered with the grotesque bodies of the chitin, smoldering from plasma fire. And everywhere, we saw them. The orbital drop shock troopers. The ODST helljumpers, as they called themselves. They moved with a terrifying grace, coordinated and lethal, a tide of armored fury pushing back the alien horde. They had literally fallen from the heavens to save us. We had braced for the end, only to be given a new beginning by soldiers who dropped from the sky. They were humanity's wrath, our guardians, our impossible, beautiful miracle. Watching them fight, I knew we were going to survive. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell so you never miss another journey into the unknown. See you next time.